I'm gonna build my motivational company from the flow up till it blow up and get my dough up.
Your pain should be the pathway to your purpose. Don't seek success, seek purpose, and let success find you.
Yep, that's it right there. Round of applause. He's on the show with us right now. Executive producer making his directorial debut, the one and only Romany Malco. Yo!
RM. What up, big family? What up? I just put my vote in, by the way. You go to radiovote.com. It's really easy, no hassle. And you get to opt out of all the additional notifications and emails that sometimes, the promo email. So just if you haven't done it yet, go to radiovote.com. You got two choices. You got one for spoken word. You got one for radio. It's a no-brainer. Knock it out.
He's showing off, brother. He letting you know he navigated the site. Round of applause. Romany Malco is a super duper citizen.
Thank you, Romany.
That's how you do it.
Yo, I love the detail. Hey, man. Hey, turn him up for me a little bit, Adam. I love the detail. I used to play his music, too, Heather B. He knows what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, he was on the world famous Wake Up Show. He was on our playlist decades ago. It's interesting, man, when I think about your career and how I don't know if it feels as if it was carefully cultivated and curated by you, just by the array of roles that you played, and you've been able to transcend different genres in different marketplaces and have a universal appeal in terms of the demographics. People like you from all ethnicities, walks of life, and all ages. So what was that the goal, or were you just taking jobs that were handed to you?
No, man, I came into the business owning a business, like a successful business. So I never had to take a job, just take a job. And I know this is going to sound corny, but I always looked at it from the holistic perspective, especially coming from music. I learned so much game from music. I realized that, sometimes you can get caught up, trying to attain things, and I realized that what I needed to do was really attain fulfillment. And so my method for that has always been, once I learned what peace of mind was, and I got my sense of purpose, I just kind of let those things dictate every decision I made. So I came into the game saying no, believe it or not, pissing people off for real. Like, I've been cut off by producers for passing on too many projects.
Can you give us an example of one of the projects you passed on that might have went off and did pretty well, but why you didn't actually choose it?
Well, honestly, I don't want to call out no joints, but honestly, I've never had a project that I looked back and was like, damn, I should have took that job. I've not, knock on wood, right? And it's for a number of reasons. It's not like I'm out here sitting by the phone. You know what I mean? I always have chosen life first. People like, oh, you're going to ruin your career. When I picked up and moved to Puerto Rico, they was like, oh, you're going to ruin your career. And, for me, that's kind of how pretty much you keep people starving and a bit desperate. And the industry kind of thrives. The industry thrives on keeping you in the dark, and kind of like, in almost any industry, really, they want to keep their employees fed just enough, but not so fed that they end up becoming independent of you, right? And so I never played that. By having my own business, by always keeping my overhead low, never going into, never buying. I never bought into the lifestyle Sway. I swear to God, for some reason or other, I just always looked at this industry and this whole thing is just, I don't know. It's something that wasn't quite, I could never buy into it 100%.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
You keep a separation. Like, it's interesting. I've tried to do that as well, even though you're very visible. You could still kind of keep a space and a separation. That mentality explains a lot, especially with this new project, Tijuana Jackson, A Purpose Over Prison, which is available for streaming in select theaters and on demand right now, that you actually self-finance this project, correct?
Yeah, I mean, dude, this is a prime example right here of a project that I put my money into. I also did a crowdfunding campaign, and I got investors involved in, and I kept it at a price point that almost just guaranteed a return. It was, again, like, it's very well thought out, and what ended up happening was the same thing I was telling you. You know, I was like trying to raise money in Hollywood to make the movie, but I realized that the language and, you know, it's just such a raw movie. It's funny as hell, but it's so raw that I just realized that I was just basically Hollywood side chick. They was making a bunch of promises, but they wasn't really trying to make no commitments. With no commitments coming through. So I went ahead and hustled it up. And the funny thing is, my manager, when I first started the crowdfunding campaign, my manager was like, I don't want you to do this. I was like, why not? He goes, it's not a good look for an established actor to be asking his fans for money. I was like, wait, what? You think I'm an established actor?
I like how you flip the lens.
Yo.
Rob, I have a question for you. This is Tracy right here. So I have two questions. The first, when you say that you are able to keep your overhead low, for doing a movie and staying like having like a really small budget, does that mean like things like you're shooting inside of your house? Like how exactly? Because we always think of movies as being humongous productions. You know, that's just like what comes to mind. What are some examples of how you keep the cost low?
Okay, one, right out the gate, one way of keeping the cost low is you incentivize the people you want to work with by giving them co-ownership of your project right off the gate. So now, you know, producers and talent and everything who be like, you know, oh, I got to get this much or this much. You'd be like, yeah, but who's giving you points? Who's giving you ownership? Okay, cool. Message squashed. And just to be clear, these weren't any debates or any issues that I had with my project. Everybody in the industry, for the most part, understands that usually when you do an indie, it's a labor of love. But another method is just technology. And what I mean by technology is that, look, there's a couple of things. You know, because of the way we've been raised on cinema, people have this romance with the idea of being in theater, and they have this idea of, like, you know, film production being huge. But the reality is, if you know technology, like I said, I've been doing this character for 20 years. I've been filming this character for 20 years. If you know technology, you understand the importance of proper planning. You know how to identify your locations, and you get a nice small crew that's actually devoted to making a quality indie. The sky is really the limit. I'm not even kidding. And for anybody out there who's an aspiring filmmaker, I want you to go on YouTube and I want you to find Mark Duplass's 2015 South by Southwest address. He did a keynote speech there, which I think is titled "The Cavalry Isn't Coming," which is a quote he got from Tony Robbins. And he, as like one of the most, you know, pronounced indie filmmakers, really breaks down the reality of it. And of everything I've ever heard, it's the most, like, sincerely, it's the most accurate depiction of how to go about it I've ever heard.
Romany Malco is with us, and I know a lot of folks on the phone lines. Drew is on the line from Houston. Good morning, Drew.
Hey, Drew.
Drew, you there? Drew, you there?
What do?
Drew, I'm about to take your spot, Drew.
No, hold on. Drew, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, so this doesn't get brought up a lot, but Rome, I'm from Houston, and in junior high, I was a big fan of yours when you were with a group called the College Boys. Nobody was talking about that.
What's the last part?
I said the College Boys. You were with a group called the College Boys.
That's right. Yeah, I was a rapper. I remember. Yep.
Radio, Cedar Radio, and Nothing Less, Nothing More were like big songs to me in junior high, or big albums.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that, and that's how I met Sway, my brother. Sway was one of the dudes that because of Sway, my song became like a nationwide hit. Victim of the Ghetto became a nationwide hit because Sway started giving us things in the Bay Area early in the game. I think we might have, at the time, we might have moved 4 times more units in the Bay than we had moved in any other any other city. For real, no, like for real. They were like, damn. People thought, and we were saying Baytown in our records, and people were like, them brothers from the Bay? What? No, it was because we was getting love and Sway. Real talk, for real.
There it is. Take a listen to this for a second. Absolutely.
So
turn that up for me.
Here's
Turn
the
that
part
up for
that
me.
got me that.
Yeah.
Am I too low?
No, I want to turn the music up so they can hear you a little bit of Romany Malco is with us. We're going to go to the phone lines. You can turn down Adam. We got Will on the line from Wisconsin. Big Will, what up?
Whoa. Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What up?
Hello.
Yeah, I just wanted to reach out to Romany, man. I had saw him doing his promotion there on his Facebook Live, man, and I just wanted to thank him. A lot of your fans out here, man, really appreciate kind of not just your energy, but really your authenticity, man. And even I think that goes into some of your roles, too, because it really shows. And that's something I want to ask you, too, also, when you were talking about wanting to make sure that when you went into producing or making Tijuana and that you wanted to have a different brand of storytelling. I just want to ask you, how much of yourself goes into some of your roles, especially the role you had in Night School and this role here in Tijuana Jackson?
Man, I appreciate you asking that. In fact, when they called me to do Night School, they was like, yo, can we get a milder version of Tijuana Jackson for Night School? And I had to think about it. I was like, well, what does that look like? Because TJ only go hard. But to answer your question, honest to God, man, I really tried to find, I don't care whatever character I'm playing. They could tell me right now, we got a role for you where we want you to play the most heinous type of person in the world. The goal is really to figure out what aspect of that person resides in me, right? And then own it. I don't like playing anything with a wink. So meaning if I'm able to dig up that aspect of me or that part of me that can be like that person, I'm going to just walk around like that for the next month if I have to really get to this place. And you know, it turns people off. You get looked at funny. People don't like your character when you're in films. In fact, I really, I'll go all the way back to Think Like a Man, actually, when I was playing Zeke in Think Like a Man, the first Think Like a Man. You know, I knew that my character was a pig, and I knew that my character, I knew people would hate my character in the beginning, but I also hoped that they would end up liking my character in the end. But honestly, I never looked at it as though that's my responsibility. My only responsibility is to give you the most authentic depiction. And so I remember when it first came out, you could see all the tweets. Romany Malco kind of creeping me out right now. Ew, Romany Malco. But towards the end, they were like, oh, I love Romany Malco, which was a great, which was very rewarding, but I wasn't relying on it. I wasn't leaning on it. I wasn't waiting on it. I try to always, and it's a way of life too, man. Like one thing I feel like I'm blessed with because of who my dad was, in the way that he related to people, you know, from the wealthiest to the poorest, is that I really feel like I can almost see myself in anyone else's shoes. And so if I really take my time and really evaluate myself without judgment, I can usually find whatever that person is in me.
Yeah, that's real, man. I appreciate that, man. And thank you for your storytelling, man. We just want to help support you, and as much as we can share it on your street team and everything, man, we're gonna grind it out, man, until they stop circulating. So, but thank you for your authenticity, man.
I appreciate you. And can I answer one more part of that question?
Absolutely, go ahead.
I'm gonna just go ahead and say Tijuana Jackson is really just another side of me. You know, I grew up in communities where, like, brothers was getting out of prison, and, like, you realize that it's not just the system that ostracizes them, but back in my day, when brothers got out the hood, family members ostracized them too. They might want to mess with them, and I've always been soft, so I never had the heart to turn my back on a brother just because he was getting out of prison or whatever. So I'd end up going on double dates I ain't had no business being on, driving his brother's hoods I ain't had no business being in. You know what I'm saying? And so, right, man, I can tell y'all so many funny stories about this business. But anyway, the long and the short of it is that, you know, I think that hanging with brothers like that and in situations like that, I developed an empathy for that as well, and could see how easily with the flip of the switch, I could, you know, the roles could have been reversed.
And it's important to you, too, I feel like. First of all, we haven't said enough about Regina Hall, who is just amazing on screen and off screen. Yeah. For even coming on board and being dedicated to it. That's Regina Hall. You know, when I say her name, she needs a round of applause whenever I say Regina Hall. Let's hear it. She's amazing. She's extremely funny. What a well-versed actress. But TJ, kind of tiptoes on stigma and reality at the same time. I feel like with this character that the stigma that surrounds people who have been in jail needs to change. And was that important to you with Purpose Over Prison, is to kind of eradicate this stigma of folks who came out of jail?
Well, man, it's incredibly important, because I really think that that's where it starts, is one, to eradicate the stigma, two, understand that, look, first of all, we got police targeting it. We got, law enforcement targeting communities that are disenfranchised. And then once they put you in the joint and you come out of the joint, they try to disenfranchise you even more. So you go from a second-class citizen to a third-class citizen. And a lot of us buy into it. Now, look, I'm not telling you to jeopardize your family or whatnot, but what I am saying is that there's a lot of psychological trauma that usually occurs when a person is constantly shuffled in and out of the system. And quite often, that person that's being led into the system came from a household, came from an environment that also sparked a lot of psychological trauma. And I'm not just saying I'm not saying that's always the case. I'm just saying that quite often it is. And so, if you take these things into consideration, and then you figure out, then you see how when people come out, they got the halfway house, but there's no real work being done to help improve their psychological conditioning. You start understanding the disconnect. And so it was important for me to really showcase it, right? And I'm talking about this, I'm sounding like a serious filmmaker. This whole movie is laughs. This whole damn movie.
Yeah.
So the movie it actually just came out today, right?
Okay.
And I woke up this morning just scrolling through all the comments and what people are quoting and what they're saying about the movie, and it's all laughs. But I just figure I find that for me, comedy works best. The messages seem to work best when you can deliver them through comedy, at least for me. And so, yeah, man, I think that a big part of what I wanted to do was definitely help on changing that stigma, but also helping people identify themselves in this. So what that means is that I think that we all have TJ in us, and I think that we all have a TJ in our family.
I agree.
And somehow or the other, that person became, the black sheep in the family, or that aspect of you can sometimes derail you on your path to accomplishing better things. And if you are able to at least identify it, if you can go, oh, I see this in me, it helps you be less judgmental of other people. How many times have you got pissed off because somebody did something stupid, then you realize that you did the same thing, and suddenly you're much more lenient. Your judgment kind of goes out the window. And that was like a moment, like Jay-Z said, thank you for this moment of clarity, You get that little moment of clarity, and all of a sudden, you're much harmonious with the person you were just judging. You get what I'm saying? And so I'm hoping that this movie gives everybody a little bit of clarity so that we can just, as a community, become a bit more harmonious.
Man, I love, you give different interviews when you're an executive producer, man. You
shady,
I'm like,
Sway.
I'm like, who's this on the phone with us right now, Romany?
He's doing it. He's doing it.
And he's doing it on his own. And I want to say I appreciate you. You've done so much work, and you got so much to show for it. But the fact that you're doing this, not when I say on your own, it's your vision, and you invested, you made your own investment into this project. And it's important that we, the citizens, support Romany Malco. I mean, we supported him when he was on 40-Year-Old Virgin. We supported him on A Million Little Things. But this one is his. So make sure you stream this one, Tijuana Jackson, TJ. Tijuana Jackson, Purpose. I was killing that name. Tijuana Jackson, Purpose Over Prison. I kept saying Tijuana. Tijuana Jackson, Purpose Over Prison is streaming now on demand. Congratulations, Romany. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Can I say a couple things before I jump out, get out of here?
Sure.
I don't have an entitlement to black dollars. I'm still working to capture black dollars. Like, I don't expect you to simply support a movie because of the fact that, it's a black movie. The goal is to capture black dollars. The goal is to create innovative things create solution-solving things, create the type of entertainment that benefits us, right? And that's quality, that is actually, above par, and then capture black dollars as well. And I think that I just want to make a point that I think it's important that all of us make sure that, listen, I want to support black-owned companies. I want to support, to the fullest. I want to be able to identify who you are, but I also don't want to be expected to accept an inferior product simply because of the fact that it's black-owned. You get what I'm saying? And so I think it's important for us, all of us, to not just support black companies, but if there's opportunities to lend constructive criticism, or if there's opportunities to help a person refine their product, or maybe even generate another round of funding so that they can refine their product because you believe in the vision, I think it's important that we step up in that way too. And if you are a business owner, the key really is to capture black dollars, to attract black dollars rather than feel entitled to black dollars.
Man, well, listen, I think all the work you've done speaks for itself, and I totally get that. You want high quality for your money, regardless of what it is. And I think you've accomplished that, Romany. And so I'm going to tell people, regardless, man, support this movie. Okay. Okay.
Straight
and
up.
Thank you for calling in. We communicated over text earlier, and we made it happen. So we'll be streaming it this weekend, okay?
Man, I really appreciate it, family. Y'all have a blessed one and continued success, my dude. Don't forget to get out there and vote, y'all.
Okay, there it is, man.
Let's
go. Ahead, Evan.
Hey, Heather, Tracy, y'all take it easy.
You too.
You too, darling.
Give it up for Romany Malco, man.